Welcome to Echoes of the Past, where history isn't just old, it's oddly fascinating.
From forgotten facts to bizarre backstories, we dig into the dusty corners of time so
So you
you
don't
don't have
have to.
to.
I'm Jody Lynn, your amateur historian and full time trivia hoarder.
And I'm Ephraim, here for the facts and the fun.
So let's rewind the clock and press play on the past. Long before we mapped the stars or explored the skies, we were staring out at the sea, wondering what was beyond the horizon.
The ocean has always been more than just water. It's been a symbol of the unknown, the unforgiving, and the unbelievable.
So let's look at the ocean as humanity's first frontier. 70% of Earth's surface is the ocean, and yet we've explored less than 20% of it. The sea was both a boundary and a bridge, dividing lands but also inviting travel and trade. Early humans built myths around it: sea monsters, gods, underwater cities, proof that the ocean inspired both awe and fear. It's kind of poetic. The first maps were basically blank spaces labeled "Here be dragons," and honestly, we still don't know what's down there. So, with cultural and mythological roots, the Greek mythology had Poseidon, who ruled over the seas. Stories like Atlantis symbolized lost knowledge and ancient technology. Then you had Norse legends like Jormungandr. I can usually say this. Jormungandr, the sea serpent that encircles the world. Then you've got Pacific Islander mythology, where ocean spirits and navigational gods like Kanalo, which was the Hawaiian god of the sea. I hope I'm saying that right.
I think it'd be Kanaloa.
That works too. Uh, then you have medieval Europe. Sailors believed in krakens, mermaids, and sea witches, many of which were based on misinterpreted real animals like squids or manatees.
When you think about it, fear of the ocean probably saved a lot of people from rowing themselves into oblivion.
I'd probably still do it. We both know
Excuse me.
Jeez. We both know I can't read a map to save my life.
It's not hard.
Then you have the psychological pull of the deep. The sea obviously represents mystery, transformation, isolation, and rebirth. Carl Jung called the ocean a symbol of the subconscious, a vast, dark, and full of hidden truths. The phrase call of the sea isn't just poetic, it's tied to real psychological phenomena like thalassophobia, which is the fear of deep water, and blue mind theory, the calming meditative effect of being near water. It's wild that something so deadly can also be so peaceful, like it's daring us to come closer while it hides everything underneath.
And yet, that call didn't go unanswered. Humans started venturing out, crossing rivers, coasting along shorelines, and eventually sailing into the unknown.
Which brings us to the earliest ocean explorers, the ones who didn't have GPS or compasses, just the stars, their instincts, and probably a lot of nerve.
And really long strings. Before ships had steel hulls and sonar, early seafarers were out there with wooden boats, woven sails, and the stars as their GPS.
And somehow, without modern tools, they made some of the boldest journeys in human history. First, we'll start with the Polynesians, the masters of the Pacific. They were indigenous navigators from places like Hawaii, Samoa, Tahiti, and New Zealand.
I got a plan, Arthur.
Oh, God. They were as early as 1500 BCE, maybe even earlier. They used wayfinding, reading wave patterns, cloud shapes, bird flight, and star patterns. Their impact was that they traveled thousands of miles across open ocean in double-hulled canoes, waka, or voyaging canoes, long before Europeans dared sail from far from the shore. So think Moana and other movies like that. They didn't just hug the coast. Polynesians crossed thousands of miles of open water on instinct, science, and ancestral knowledge.
We go from that to the Phoenicians, the first great traders. The maritime people from the eastern Mediterranean, modern-day Lebanon and Syria, around 1200 BC to 300 BCE. They built advanced ships for their time, known for their speed and maneuverability. They created early trade routes across the Mediterranean and beyond, possibly reaching Britain for tin. They basically invented maritime business. While others stayed local, the Phoenicians were out there networking like LinkedIn with sales.
From there, we go to the Greeks and the Romans, mapping the known world. They used stars, wind patterns, and eventually rudimentary maps. Greek geographer Pytheas,
I think it's Pytheas.
okay, may have reached Iceland or Norway. The Romans, of course, excelled at building ports, naval logistics, and Mediterranean dominance, but didn't push into open oceans as much as others. They were more about control and infrastructure. They made sea power practical and scalable.
And we got the Vikings, raiders and explorers. There were Norse seafarers from Scandinavia, between the 8th and 11th century CE. They used long ships, shallow draft, fast. They were long ships, shallow draft, fast, and seaworthy.
Words are hard.
Reached as far as North America, Vinland, likely Newfoundland, centuries before Columbus. For their navigation, they used the sun, birds, ocean swells, and potentially sunstones to detect sunlight through cloud cover. They weren't just plundering villages, they were charting coastlines, finding new lands, and figuring out how to survive storms with no compass.
Next, let's look at early navigational techniques. So we had celestial navigation, which was following the sun during the day, and constellations like Orion, the North Star, and the Southern Cross at night. Then you had the dead reckoning, which is estimating position based on time, speed, and direction, not dead people. Then you had stick charts, which was Polynesia. Curved sticks represented wave swells, shells marked islands. Then you had lead lines, measured depth and gathered seabed samples to identify location near shore. Imagine steering your boat across open ocean using a few sticks, some shells, and the moon. That's not luck, that's genius.
The oldest known seafaring comes from humans in Southeast Asia over 50,000 years ago, possibly island hopping toward Australia. Polynesian voyaging techniques were largely erased during colonization, but have seen a revival in recent decades through efforts like the I don't know how you would say that. Hokului expedition. The Viking sages described North America land as Vinland due to wild grapes they found, likely Newfoundland. From canoes to longships, ancient mariners pushed the boundaries of what seemed possible and sometimes what seemed insane.
But then came a time when crossing oceans became more than survival or curiosity. It became imperial. Let's enter the age of exploration. But, of course, before we set sail, let's take a quick break, because even the boldest explorers need the right fuel.
This episode is sponsored by Dubby, the clean energy drink that'll keep you focused and steady, whether you're navigating ancient trade routes or diving deep into your next research spiral.
No sugar, no crash, and no weird chemicals, just clean, jet-free energy and 15-plus delicious flavors.
Because when you're voyaging through history, you don't want to be shipwrecked by a caffeine crash.
Grab your first tub at dubby.gg and enter code Echoes of the Past and let us know your favorite flavor. We are currently obsessed with the, what is it called? It is a cherry blossom. So, let us know what yours is.
That's Dubby. Power your journey and be better.
By the 15th century, the ocean wasn't just a mystery anymore. It was a gateway to wealth, power, and discovery.
It was the beginning of a global game of risk, conquest, and curiosity, and the sea was the board.
So, let's look at the Portuguese and the African coast. The key figure here was Prince Henry the Navigator. He funded voyages that pushed exploration southward along Africa's coast. This involved tech advancement, introducing the caravel, a faster, more maneuverable ship that could sail into the wind. Of course, there was a breakthrough in 1488 where Bartholomew Diaz rounded the Cape of Good Hope, opening sea access to Asia. Before GPS, just sailing around the southern tip of Africa was a win condition.
You're the one everybody knows about, Christopher Columbus and the New World. From 1492, he sailed under Spain's flag. His goal was to find a fast route to Asia. Result, he landed in the Caribbean, triggering centuries of colonization and cultural upheaval.
How dare he?
Columbus wasn't the first to discover the Americas, but his voyage had a massive global consequences. He thought he found India. Instead, he rewrote the global map and kicked off centuries of conquest.
Rude. Next, we have Ferdinand Magellan and the first circumnavigation. This was 1519 to 1522. The most notable was only 18 men survived the journey out of 270. Magellan didn't make it. He died in the Philippines. His legacy, though, was that he proved the Earth was round and that the oceans were interconnected. It was the 16th century version of sending someone to Mars, and they barely made it back.
Zheng He and the Forgotten Chinese Armada. From the early 1400s, before Christopher Columbus, his fleet consisted of hundreds of ships, some over 400 feet long, bigger than anything they had in Europe. His mission was diplomatic and trade expeditions across the Indian Ocean, reaching Africa and the Middle East. After his death, China shifted inward, abandoning oceanic exploration. It's like they had a whole head start and then just hit the brakes.
So let's look at mapping the globe. The advancements during this was that we had the portolan charts. They were highly accurate coastal maps. Then the astrolabe and the quadrant helped sailors measure latitude. And then we had magnetic compass. This revolutionized the navigation. This impact, of course, turned the sea from a mystery into a network. Trade routes, colonies, and global empires emerged. The sea went from being unknown to owned, or at least claimed over and over again.
Some trivia drop-ins. Magellan's voyage took over 1,000 days and covered 42,000 miles. Columbus's ships, the Nina, Pinta, and Santa Maria, were barely bigger than modern buses. Some of his ships were over twice the length of Columbus's flagship. So the oceans were charted, named, and carved up by empires, but soon curiosity would begin to outpace conquest.
Exploration shifted from flags and gold to science and discovery. Next up, the age of oceanic research. By the 18th and 19th centuries, the seas had been mapped, at least roughly, and the age of conquest started giving way to something new.
Curiosity, science, and the race to figure out what was actually under all of that water.
So let's look at a shift in purpose. Oceanic voyages began focusing on understanding rather than just claiming. Naturalists, geologists, and botanists joined naval crews, recording sea life, currents, weather patterns, and geological formations. Basically, scientists became the new explorers, swapping swords for sketchbooks and spyglasses.
We got the HMS Beagle from 1831 to 1836. They surveyed the South American coastline. Their famous passenger, Charles Darwin, observed marine fossils and island ecosystems. Its impact influenced his theory of natural selection and evolution. Imagine casually sailing around the Galapagos and stumbling on one of the most important scientific revelations in history.
I feel like if you don't know of Charles Darwin, I think you need to go back to school. The Challenger Expedition from 1872 to 1876. This was the first true oceanographic mission. This sailed 68,000 nautical miles, discovered over 4,700 new species, and reached depths of 26,850 feet in the Mariana Trench. This created the first systematic maps of the ocean floor and confirmed that the deep ocean wasn't just empty, it was thriving. They had a steamship, 181 miles of rope, and Victorian-era science gear, and they basically founded oceanography.
Submarines and sonar from the early 20th century. World War I and World War II advancements. Sonar, sound navigation, and ranging was developed to detect enemy submarines, but became key for mapping the seafloor. Submarines allowed people to actually go beneath the surface and explore, not just drag nets. Post-war boom, many naval technologies were adapted for peaceful exploration in the Cold War era. War drove the tech, but science hijacked it to study the ecosystem, trench systems, and even shipwrecks.
Now, you and I have talked about this a few times. What happens if somebody is outside of the ship when the sonar goes off?
They explode.
Why?
Because the fucking... the waves it fucking pushes out. It's like a... I can't remember if it's a lot of pressure or it's what the waves are. The sonar pulses are exactly that mess you up on the inside.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'll look it up. Hold on, give me a second.
Because that was a big thing that I've seen a lot of people recently, within the last few months, talk about on TikTok a lot. And I find it interesting that more people do not know that. Because I know, like, Navy guys, they obviously know it. But kayakers are always told, hey, you see a submarine, you probably should not get in the water or at least get kind of far away from it.
Okay, sonar pings, especially for military-grade active sonar, can be dangerous due to the intense sound pressure and waves they generate.
Okay.
Sound waves can damage tissues and organs, particularly in close proximity to the sonar source.
Sounds like so much fun. Okay. So, if you're in the water and you see a submarine, Get the fuck out of there. Just saying. Okay, next, let's talk about finding the Titanic in 1985. This was led by Dr. Robert Ballard, and he used remotely operated vehicles, or ROVs, and side-scan sonar. The significance of this was first-time deep-sea archaeology, and it captured the global public, helped establish marine conservation and historical oceanography as serious disciplines. It wasn't just about finding a ship, it was about proving we could reach the unreachable.
Marine biology and ecology emerges. As exploration advanced, scientists discovered deep sea vents, thermal ecosystems, and new bioluminescent species. The idea that life could exist without sunlight near hydrothermal vents blew open everything we knew about biology. It's like discovering an alien planet right here on Earth. Just replace stars with volcanic vents and glowing shrimp.
So, you want to hear about a fun fact?
Sure.
Anybody who knows me or knew me when I was in middle school knew that my dream job was marine biology. I would still love it, but it's a very hard, I would say a very hard job to make a very long career. But do you know what the one thing I wanted to invent was, and it has something to do with this?
What?
I wanted to invent a type of lighting that you could use in your homes or your cars or wherever that learned from the bioluminescent animals of the ocean. Because it is just a chemical response, technically. So how hard would it be for us to do that instead of having to use electricity for lights or lighting? I feel like it would be an ecological advantage, and it would help us save things without having to use all these unrenewable resources that we keep deciding to use. I thought that would be a cool idea, but
But here, let me tell you about these things that people really like. It's called money.
That exactly.
And they won't change it for nothing.
Can you imagine how cool that would be?
Yeah.
Think about your whole house in just shades of the Avatar movie. That would be cool. I would dig it. As somebody who does not like overhead lights, I would love that. Would you?
Yeah.
Like living in your own personal cave. It just glows. Okay, let's look at some trivia real quick. Over 70% of Challenger's crew had never been to sea before the expedition. Submarines used to use periscopes and wax pencils to write notes during dives. That sounds kind of cool. And the first sonar system was nicknamed Aztec, and early versions used a ping that actually scared away fish. So we went from explorers and conquerors to curious scientists plumbing the depths.
And that curiosity didn't stop. In fact, it's only gotten deeper, literally. Let's dive into the modern era of deep sea discovery.
Excuse you.
By the 20th century, we walked on the moon, but we still hadn't reached the bottom of our own planet.
So scientists, engineers, and explorers turned their eyes downward into the pitch black, high-pressure alien world of the deep ocean. So I want to stop here real quick. And I have always found it very, very odd that we would rather go out to space than explore the deepest parts of our own planet, where we could find endless aliens of our own.
Yeah, but the hard part with going deeper into the ocean is that immense ocean pressure.
Is there not pressure everywhere else?
Not as bad as the oceans. Flying up in the shuttles or the rocket ships, it's going to push on you. But going deep into the ocean, you're going to get smushed into a ball of meat. So
they couldn't have figured something out?
No.
Why not?
I don't know. Do I look like if I were a scientist, I wouldn't be sitting here. We wouldn't be sitting here in this apartment. It'd probably be something a little bit nicer, maybe. And I wouldn't be going to a job I hate every day. That
is true. Now, I do have a question, and I want to see if you believe this conspiracy theory, I guess is what it would be.
Okay.
So there's a conspiracy theory that has been going around a lot lately. It's probably been there for a while. But it is saying that aliens have been here for a very long time, because we've already touched on our alien theories, but that they have been sitting in the deepest parts of our oceans this entire time, and that's why we haven't found them. What do you think of this conspiracy theory?
I think they've just been watching too much Pacific Rim.
You think so?
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
I mean, yeah, the ocean's a big place, but the really deep parts and the use of sonar equipment to map out the ocean bed, the ocean floors, I think they would have found something maybe out of the ordinary. More than it already
I was gonna
is
say,
at the bottom of the ocean.
I was gonna say, how do we know it's ordinary down there? There's some weird things down there.
Okay, and then what purpose would they have to be sitting down in the ocean for what? They sitting there watching movies, watching Leonardo DiCaprio.
I don't know.
And this redhead chick bang, even though they've only known each other for 2 days?
I get your reference there. No, I don't know. The theory is not very well scoped out, but it's interesting because a lot of people say, "Oh, why do we need to explore the ocean?" I mean, there's no way we haven't found everything. But just like I told you, last few months they found a whole new, I was gonna say species of shark down in the deep, deep ocean that we've never seen in our life before. So how do we know what's down there?
Yeah.
And same with the people who are like, "Oh, there's no way that a megalodon can still be alive in our oceans." My dude,
they can't though.
I know, but the fact that we have, I think they're called giant squid, and we've never been able to capture one alive, or we've just recently in the last 2 years been able to actually see one alive. Those things are massive. If that can hide down there, I'm pretty sure there's some big shit down there.
Yeah.
You agree with that at least?
Yeah,
okay.
There's all kinds of
creepy ass shit down there.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's continue because I can go on for hours. So let's look at Jacques Cousteau, the sea's storyteller. He was a French naval officer, explorer, and filmmaker, and co-inventor of the aqualung, which was the early scuba gear. His legacy was that he brought the ocean into people's homes through the Silent World in 1956, and the Cousteau Odyssey. He pioneered marine conservation and popularized marine biology. Fun fact, the Calypso, his research ship, became as iconic as his red beanie. He made the sea magical again, not just as a place of danger or conquest, but wonder.
Yeah. Alvin, the little sub that could. It debuted in 1964. Its notable missions were they explored hydrothermal vents in the Galapagos Rift in 1977 and helped locate and explore the wreck of the Titanic in 1986. Stats capable of diving over 14,000 feet, carried a pilot and 2 scientists. Alvin was basically the deep sea equivalent of a Mars rover, small, cramped, and historic. Mars rovers are huge.
Yeah. Next, we have the Mariana Trench, the deepest point on Earth. The Challenger Deep, 36,070 feet or 10,994 meters below the surface. The first visit was the Trieste in 1960, piloted by Don Walsh and Jacques Piccard. The second visit was in 2012, which James Cameron did. Yep, that James Cameron descended solo in the Deep Sea Challenger. They found new species, bizarre geological formations, and unfortunately plastic waste. Yeah, we've literally left trash in the deepest spot on Earth. Classic humanity.
Hydrothermal vents and alien ecosystems, discovered in 1977 by the Alvin team. What makes them special? Entire ecosystems exist without sunlight. Life is based on chemosynthesis, energy from chemicals, not the sun. Species down there, giant tube worms, ghost fish, glowing shrimps, and otherworldly bacteria. It changed our understanding of life's requirements, even influenced theories on extraterrestrial life. It's like finding an alien base at the bottom of the ocean, and it's full of glowing worms and sulfur vents.
All that reminds me of is Subnautica. I think that might just because I've been playing it all day, but that reminds me of Subnautica.
Yeah.
Let's look at ROVs and autonomous explorers next. They are remotely operated vehicles that are used in deep sea archaeology, oil exploration, and science. They are also autonomous underwater vehicles like underwater drones, mapping terrain, sample water, and monitor ecosystems. Some examples are Jason Jr., Norris, and Sebastian, or the Schmidt Ocean Institute. This, of course, allowed real-time video streaming, robotic arms for sampling, and AI-driven navigation. A good look at this in movies would be the movie called Sahara. At the very beginning, I believe they used one of these to go down and look at ocean treasure. It's like sending robots to the Earth's inner space, and some of them have better cameras than my phone.
NASA, the ocean, and the future. Why is NASA interested in exploring the ocean?
Because they're bored.
Yeah. Similar conditions between deep sea and space, pressure, isolation, and darkness. testing life support systems, robotics, and even astronaut training.
Mhm.
And their crossover projects, NEMO, NASA Extreme Environmental Mission Operations, trains astronauts underwater. Ocean World Emissions, Europa, and
And
Enceladus, Enceladus, are inspired by hydrothermal vent ecosystems. Space may be the final frontier, but the ocean is still the weirdest.
100%. Let's look at some trivia. Less than 25% of the ocean floor has been mapped in high resolution. The pressure at the bottom of the Mariana Trench is over 1,000 times the pressure at sea level, and more people have walked on the moon than have visited Challenger Deep. From glowing worms to robotic subs, we've come a long way from wooden ships and wind power.
But we're not done yet, because the future of ocean discovery is just getting started. Let's look ahead at what's coming next.
We've crossed oceans, mapped trenches, and met glowing shrimp. But what comes next might change how we see the entire planet.
Because the ocean still holds more unknowns than outer space, and now we've got the tech to finally start answering those deep sea questions.
Unless you're that submarine that went down a few months ago, and then we don't.
And then you get memed on hard.
I still like the conspiracy theories where they didn't actually die and they're just hiding out somewhere.
Yeah, they're hiding out with fucking John Lennon and Hitler.
And Elvis, can't forget him.
And Elvis, Amelia Earhart,
Michael Jackson,
Tupac, Biggie.
Who else?
Who else?
I can't even think right now. That's
just any person who people still believe is alive. Just think of any of those people. They're all hanging out in this super secret club somewhere under the ocean or some shit like that.
Totally. Okay, so let's look at ocean mapping and Project Seabed 2030. So the goal is to map 100% of the ocean floor by 2030. They got 5 years left. This is being led by the Nippon Foundation and GEBCO. This matters because it will help with disaster planning like tsunamis and will support climate models, shipping routes, and even military navigation. The current status is less than 20% of the seaboard is currently mapped in detail. Dang, they got 5 years and they've only got 25%. We've got better maps of Mars than our own ocean. Let that sink in.
Autonomous exploration. AUVs, autonomous underwater vehicles, can explore where humans can't, run for days or weeks without contact. Examples, Bodie McBoatface, yes, really, help study deep sea currents tied to climate change. Advances in AI, image recognition for marine life, automated mapping and sample collection, and predictive models of underwater habitats. We've got self-driving cars, now we've got self-swimming robots.
Sounds great. Climate science and conservation. So here we're looking at rising sea levels and ocean acidification. This is ocean studies making key to understanding global warming. Then you've got coral bleaching and ecosystem collapse. Satellites, underwater drones, and long-term sensors are tracking reef health and biodiversity shifts. Then you've got plastic pollution. New projects use sonar and remote imaging to track microplastics and trash movement through currents. The ocean absorbs over 90% of the heat caused by climate change. It's the planet's own personal thermostat.
New life forms and genetic research. Deep sea microbes and bacteria found near hydrothermal vents are being studied for medical breakthroughs, enzymes, and cancer research. Sustainable materials and bioluminescent tech. Some species found at the bottom of the ocean are entirely new branches of life. Not just animals we know, but completely different biomechanical structures. It's like the ocean is hiding cheat codes for biology down there.
Heck yeah. And then, of course, as we've already been talking about, space-ocean tech crossovers. NASA and ESA use ocean environments to test gear for Europa and Enceladus missions, moons with oceans under ice, underwater robotics, and life detection tech. Wow, words are hard. Projects like NEMO train astronauts in underwater stations to simulate long-term missions on Mars or the moon. And I do want to add, there are a few different movies, if you look into them, where they actually do show you the astronauts getting trained in the ocean, with like their full gear on, and I think I would have a panic attack. That is too much.
No, they train in a big ass pool of like a mock-up of the space station in their astronaut suits.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, going underwater in that much suitage, I think would cause me to have a panic attack. I love the water, don't get me wrong, but that is too much. We might find alien life by first figuring out how life works in our own backyard, deep beneath the waves.
Public access and citizen science. Real-time underwater cams like Ocean Networks Canada, open data research vessels lets classrooms and curious nerds follow expeditions live. Even social media has helped identify new species from dive footage. It's no longer just James Cameron and billionaires. If you've got Wi-Fi, you can explore the ocean from your couch.
Let's look at some trivia. AUVs can now dive deeper than any manned sub has ever gone and transmit data wirelessly when they surface. Some deep-sea creatures glow red, a color invisible in the blackness of the abyss, making them nearly invisible to predators. And a plastic bag was found in the Mariana Trench, proving even Earth's deepest point isn't safe from pollution. Now, we've looked at the past and peeked into the future, but the ocean hasn't just inspired scientists and explorers.
It's also inspired some of our favorite stories, legends, and on-screen adventures. Let's take a swim through pop culture's deep end.
The ocean doesn't just inspire scientists, it's also prime real estate for legends, horror, adventure, and mystery.
From ancient sea gods to Pixar fish, the deep has always been the ultimate stage.
Let's look at some fun little maritime myths and legends. First, of course, like we've already said, we've got the ancient beliefs like Poseidon with Greek, Kanalau with Hawaiian, and the Norse gods who ruled the sea. Myths served to explain storms, shipwrecks, and the terrifying unknown. Then, of course, you've got sea monsters like the krakens, which are the giant squids popularized in Norse tales and by sailors who likely saw colossal squids. Then you had mermaids and sirens, dangerous beauties luring sailors to the doom, likely inspired by manatees or dugongs. And then, of course, the Flying Dutchman, a ghost ship doomed to sail forever, shows up in folklore, SpongeBob, and Pirates of the Caribbean. Before there was Jaws, there was just pure fear of the unknown.
Yeah, did you know that the Flying Dutchman comes to your soul, and your soul is like pickles?
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, it's from the episode of SpongeBob.
I know.
I have come for your pickle. Ocean in film and TV, adventure and horror. Jaws from 1975. Spielberg's classic that made people afraid to swim. I've never seen it.
I've seen parts of it.
The Abyss from 1989. Deep sea tension, aliens, and underwater rescue missions. Other movies. Are those other movies?
Yeah, so Sphere, Leviathan, and Deep Star 6.
All use the deep ocean like outer space, dark, pressurized, and full of unknowns. And we got family and animation, Finding Nemo and Finding Dory. Beautifully animated, surprisingly accurate marine life and reef environments. Moana, deeply rooted in Polynesian navigation traditions and oceanic mythology. And The Little Mermaid, fantasy-driven but still inspired generations of curiosity about the sea. It's my mom's favorite movie. It's like the ocean of Hollywood's favorite mystery box. You open it and you never know what's going to crawl out.
Do you want to know what my favorite underwater movie ever is? 1,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Have you ever seen it?
Nope.
Okay, I'm going to look up a summary for you real quick. And it's an older movie, and I believe it's a Disney.
Another good movie that involves the ocean is Pacific Rim. Just the first one, though. Don't watch the second one. That one's garbage.
Okay, good to know. 1,000 Leagues Under the Sea movie. Okay, so this was from 1954.
Okay.
And it is a Disney movie. And this is what it looks like. It's literally a submarine.
Okay, I've seen the poster.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah.
So, I love this movie. It is so stupidly silly. Trying to find the summary for it, and I am not finding it. Okay. So basically, a ship is sent to investigate a wave of mysterious sinkings encounters the advanced submarine, the Nautilus, commanded by Captain Nemo. And basically what happens is they kind of come face to face with something like a kraken, which is just a giant squid.
Yeah.
But it's such a good and silly movie. And it's well made, even though it's from the 50s. It's a good movie. You should watch it. So, as I've already said, we've got video games and interactive media like Subnautica, which is an open world survival game in an alien ocean filled with terrifying and beautiful creatures. I do want to add that it does hit on a lot of really cool topics like underwater survival with hydrothermic vents and using the ocean and its resources to survive and make items that you can readily heat your base with, get electricity, stuff like that. Then you've got Sea of Thieves, which is a multiplayer pirate game with ocean exploration, storms, and sea monsters. Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, detailing Caribbean naval navigation and ship battles. And then the Endless Ocean, a calming scuba diving exploration game. There are a ton more that have been coming out that are more, what are they called? Indie
games.
Indie games, thank you. That are very open world, deep sea survival, and they are terrifying. Let me just tell you, I will scream every time I play them. What would you say?
Like about indie games or just games involving the ocean?
Games involving the ocean.
One of my favorite games, BioShock, the first one. The second one was also pretty good. They both take place in a city under the water that's fallen into
disrepair.
Disrepair. Everyone's trying to kill each other to get this made-up resource called Atom. I like it. Trying to think of other games involving the ocean that I've played.
There's a lot.
There is a lot.
They all play on everybody's thalassophobia issues.
Yeah. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, it kind of has ocean-ish. You get to fucking drive one of those big Greek sail ships with all the oars that come out the sides.
Yeah.
And engage in naval combat with other ships just like it.
You get to do that in the Norse one
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yeah, you do that in that one too. But I don't think that's really technically an ocean. I think that's the seas.
Yeah. Odyssey takes place around Greece. So it's not really the ocean. It's the Mediterranean Sea that's right there. Yeah, it's the Mediterranean, but kind of same concept.
Yeah.
Of sailing, big body of water.
Water is water.
Water is water. They're kind of to go back to like TVs and TV shows and movies. Adventure Time, one of the arcs they had in the later seasons, like second to last season, I think. They go Finn, Jake, BMO, go and explore the ocean around U to find other humans. Where what's her name? Susan, big lady in a purple cat costume. Find where the humans could have gone in the post-apocalypse.
Gotcha. Since you touched on movies again, I do want to say that there is a ton of oceanic horror movies. Like, of course, we've got The Meg. We've got Under Paris. You've got 2010's Moby Dick. You've got, of course, Jaws and all the Jaws that followed. You've got the ones where the girls go down into the shark cage and the shark cage falls all the way down. I think it's 47 meters down. There's a ton. So let's now move from video games to
documentaries and realism. Blue Planet and Blue Planet 2 from the BBC. Narrated by Sir David Attenborough. Stunning visuals, groundbreaking footage of deep-sea creatures, coral bleaching, and plastic pollution. Secrets of the Whales on Disney Plus and Nat Geo. Emotional storytelling meets scientific insight into whale behavior and communication. And The Silent World, 1956. Jacques Cousteau's Oscar-winning documentary first brought underwater life to cinema screens. Documentaries remind us that the ocean isn't just beautiful, it's fragile.
So, let's look at some trivia. Jaws was the first summer blockbuster and increased shark fields nationwide. Shark populations actually declined afterwards. Finding Nemo caused a surge in clownfish sales and a major hit to wild populations. And the term thalassophobia, fear of deep water, exploded online thanks to video games and Reddit horror stories.
Yeah, they got like the most annoying fucking music they put in the background just to show like how big the ocean is, and I hate it. I don't know. It's like It's like a chanting kind of music.
I think it's a sea shanty is what it is.
Well, the sea shanty too, but there's another one too where it's like some kind of music from another country, and it's just really fucking annoying. It gets on my nerves. And the sea shanty one that they also use, the Yoho one from Pirates.
Dude, that one gives me chills every time I hear it.
Every time I hear it, it just sounds really freaking cringy.
Does it?
Yes.
To you?
It makes me cringe just because it seems so cheesy.
They use it all the time.
Exactly. Use something else. There's more creepy other music you can use than just the same 2 fucking songs again and again.
I feel like any sea shanty, if you slow it down that much, it's gonna be creepy.
Well,
it's not even so many to choose.
It's not even just slow down. It's just some dude singing it with a deep voice.
I know.
Bonus segment 1 is strange creatures, deep sea, and discoveries. If space is where we look for aliens, the ocean is where we actually find them.
From see-through fish to nightmare fuel with teeth, the deep sea is basically nature's horror lab.
Weird and wonderful deep sea creatures. The anglerfish has a glowing lure that attracts prey. Males fuse to females like parasites. Yes, really.
Ugh.
It's if you've seen Finding Nemo, then you know what fish we're talking about. It's the big
fact.
one with the really sharp teeth.
Yep.
And they're in the dark.
Fun fact: in a video game on the Nintendo Switch, Animal Crossing, the anglerfish is called a football fish.
We got the goblin shark, a rare prehistoric shark with a jaw that extends out of its face like something from Alien.
Those things are creepy. They look like they're prehistoric and should be in a bone lab instead of the ocean moving.
Yeah. The barrel eye fish, transparent head with upward-facing tubular eyes that rotate inside its skull.
Ew.
The Dumbo octopus, adorably weird. It flies through the water with ear-like fins.
Those are so fucking cute.
The Yeti crab, fuzzy claws, lives near hydrothermal vents and farms bacteria on its arms.
Cool. Let's look at some recent ocean discoveries. We have the new species found constantly. Over 100 new marine species are described every year. We have deep sea coral forests found at over 3,000 meters deep near Australia in 2020. Then you've got the underwater brine pools found in the Gulf of Mexico, saltier than the ocean around them, toxic to most marine life, and surrounded by corpses of unlucky creatures. Then you've got the immortal jellyfish, the Turritopsis dohrnii, can revert to its polyp stage and theoretically live forever. The deep ocean is like the Earth's haunted attic. The deeper you go, the weirder it gets. There's a lot more than that, but we're just going to hit on a few of them.
Places that make you go, nope. The Mariana Trench, Earth's deepest known point. Pressure is like having 50 jumbo jets on your head.
Ow.
The Java Trench, second deepest, but far more seismically active.
I get why it's called Java.
Black smokers and thermal vents. These alien-like towers spew superheated water, creating completely unique ecosystems. And Lake Vostok, subglacial lake that's been sealed for 15 million years. We only recently drilled into it.
I feel like we're going to get cursed from that one.
There's a lot of places where you go into them and it's cursed.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, the ocean is beautiful, but it also freaks people out.
Because sometimes not knowing is way scarier than anything we could find. Why are we so afraid of the ocean? Well, it triggers primal fears, the unknown, drowning, isolation, and the vastness of it all. The sea is unpredictable, inhospitable, and often unreachable. Once you're out there, you're not in control.
You got some common ocean phobias. Thalassophobia, the fear of deep, vast bodies of water. Bathyphobia, fear of depths, not just the sea, but oceans trigger it.
Do you want me to say that one?
That's a big-ass word. Megalohydrothalassophobia, fear of massive things in the ocean like whales, sunken ships, or sea monsters.
Add in a little imagination, and that fear becomes a kraken in your mind. So we've got my favorite thing to ever look into, the Bermuda Triangle.
I think that's like every kid's obsession. Dude, growing up at one point or another.
Everybody gets obsessed with this.
Like, I think like when you know, on like cable TV, like Comcast or DirecTV, before all these streaming services and shit, like flipping through their channels and you pop up on like Animal Planet or something like that.
My favorite.
Or like the History Channel or something, and it just pops up like a documentary on the Bermuda Triangle.
You're hooked.
Or something specific about it, then you're like, oh, that's
my new thing.
That's my new thing. It's wild. People, all these ships and planes and whatever's going missing. This is an issue, clearly.
Fun fact, there are multiple triangles in the entire world, not just in the ocean. There's obviously the Bermuda Triangle. There's one in China. I don't remember what it's called. And then I know there's another one in Massachusetts near Boston. That one's primarily forest, but each one has very characteristically things that are wrong. But we're only going to talk about the Bermuda Triangle right now. This location is between Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. The famous incidents incurred are Flight 19 in 1945, where 5 torpedo bombers vanished. And then the USS Cyclops in 1918 disappeared with 309 people aboard.
There's a movie, a Scooby-Doo movie.
Oh, God.
Where it's set on an ocean cruise and they're attacked by pirates. Like, I think they're supposed to be ghost pirates. And they're in the Bermuda Triangle. And they see things like Flight 19, the Cyclops, and a couple other things. But, it's Scooby-Doo, so none of it's real. I just thought that's something interesting to bring up.
I feel like I remember that, but also don't. There's a lot of different movies and TV shows that hit on the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah. I watched a lot of Scooby-Doo. It's like one of my favorite things.
I agree. Here are some theories about the Bermuda Triangle. It has magnetic anomalies messing with navigation. Methane gas erupts from the seafloor. Sudden weather shifts or rogue waves. Or aliens, because why not?
It's always aliens. Neighbor kidnapped your dog? Nope, it was an alien. If the Bermuda Triangle is the ocean's most famous mystery, there are plenty more tales to keep us up at night.
Like ships that vanish without a trace, strange underwater objects, and phenomena that even scientists can't explain.
We got the ghost ships. The Mary Celeste from 1872, found drifting near the Azores with no crew aboard. The ship was intact with cargo and supplies untouched. The crew's disappearance remains a mystery. It could be pirates, mutiny, or the supernatural. They I saw a video about this a while ago. There's lots of theories on why the crew disappeared or why the ship was abandoned. One of them was the ship was carrying I think ethanol or some kind of spirits, something like that. And what happened was like an explosion, but it was a ghost flame, so you couldn't see it. And that's why there's that's why there was no one aboard, and everything on the ship was pretty much untouched.
That's fair.
The Flying Dutchman, legendary ghost ship doomed to sail forever. Reported sightings date back to the 17th century. Inspired countless books, films, and folklore.
I do want to say one of my biggest things about the ghost ships is think about how terrifying it would be to be sailing or doing anything out in the open ocean where you don't see shit, and all of a sudden you come up on this giant ship or boat, has nobody on it, and it looks like it's just been sitting there untouched, except for of course the ocean and Mother Nature taking its course. And you can't figure out why. There's no dead bodies, there's no nothing. That is terrifying to me.
There's a few actual ghost ships out in the ocean, just abandoned vessels that just float around in the oceans. And every once in a while people will spot them and be like, oh look, there's the whatever ship.
That's terrifying. Ghost ships blur the line between maritime history and spooky storytelling. Some are fact, some are legend, and some might be both. Let's look at the Baltic Sea Anomaly, which was discovered in 2011 by a Swedish diving team surveying the seafloor. What it looks like is a large disc-shaped object resembling a crashed UFO or ancient structure. The location is approximately 92 meters deep in the Baltic Sea. Some theories are that it's a National Geological Formation, a sunken World War II era craft, or an alien spaceship. Of course, the status is still unexplained, with many amateur and professional investigations ongoing.
Is it a rock, or is it the ocean's answer to Roswell? The debate continues. Other creepy phenomena: underwater lights, mysterious glowing orbs that reported by sailors in various parts of the world.
I've heard about that one.
Sea serpents, sightings of enormous snake-like creatures going back centuries, often dismissed as myths, but occasionally backed by sonar blips. Unexplained disappearances, ships and planes vanishing in the Sargasso Sea, the Devil's Sea near Japan, and other mysterious spots worldwide. There's one oceanic mystery that's less about what we see and more about what we hear. A bizarre, unexplained signal that has baffled scientists for decades.
Known simply as the Bloop, or sometimes the upsweep, it's a series of strange low-frequency sounds detected deep in the ocean. What is the bleep? This was detected since the 1990s by underwater microphones called hydrophones, characterized by a series of rising bleeping tones lasting several minutes to hours, often heard on the ocean floor, particularly in the Pacific, and the signals usually occur during certain seasons, fading in spring.
Some possible explanations: natural causes, underwater volcanic activity, movements of tectonic plates, and marine life such as whales or other deep sea creatures producing unusual sounds. Human causes, sonar or naval testing, and communication from submarines. It's been unexplained. No definitive source has been identified, keeping it a subject of intrigue.
And of course, why it captured us is the bleep sounds like an eerie underwater melody, almost alien. It's been recorded and shared widely among oceanographers and sound enthusiasts. Some speculate it could be a form of deep sea communication or a signal from unknown creatures. It's a reminder that the ocean isn't just silent darkness, it has its own symphony, some of which we'll still don't understand.
Signals, shapes, and vanished ships, the ocean keeps whispering its secrets.
I mean, yeah, between glowing predators, endless darkness, and mystery zones like the Bermuda Triangle, it makes sense people feel a little uneasy.
But we're not afraid. We're just curious. So let's wrap things up with a few final fast facts from the deep.
All right, Ephraim, it's time to hit our listeners with some rapid-fire ocean trivia. Are you ready?
Born ready. Let's make some waves.
The blue whale is the largest animal ever known to have lived up to 100 feet long and 200 tons.
Over 80% of the ocean remains unexplored by humans.
The giant squid can grow up to 43 feet long, but was only first filmed alive in 2012.
Coral reefs support about 25% of all marine species, despite covering less than 1% of the ocean floor.
The oldest living animal ever found was a clam named Ming, estimated to be over 500 years old.
The fastest recorded fish is the sailfish, reaching speeds of 68 miles per hour.
Ow. The deepest ocean trench, the Mariana Trench, is deeper than Mount Everest is tall.
Some bioluminescent creatures use their glow for camouflage, communication, or hunting.
Damn.
The ocean is a place of mystery, beauty, danger, and discovery, a vast frontier that continues to challenge and inspire us.
From ancient myths to cutting-edge science, it's clear the sea holds stories as deep as its depths.
Huge thanks to everyone who joined us on this voyage through oceanic exploration.
And a big shout out to our sponsor, Dubby, keeping us powered up through every deep dive.
Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with your fellow history and ocean nerds.
Next week, we'll be back with another deep dive into the past. Until then, keep your eyes on the horizon and your curiosity flowing.
Yeah, share it with more people you know, you goofy goobers.
And join the Goofy Goober Gang.
Thanks for wandering through history with us on Echoes of the Past.
If you liked what you heard, subscribe, rate us, and tell that one friend who still quotes fun facts at parties.
And remember, history may repeat itself,
but we promise not to. See you in the next Echo.